Okay, ready? Right here, on the border between France and Switzerland, is the biggest science experiment ever built. It's this huge tunnel, over 100 meters underground and 27 kilometers long, running under nearby homes and businesses and farms. And inside that tunnel, scientists put a long blue tube, big enough to crawl through. And inside that tube, they put two pipes that they keep colder and emptier than outer space. And down those pipes, they fire particles smaller than atoms, in opposite directions, pushing them faster and faster and faster until, when they're almost at the speed of light, they smash together, sending subatomic debris flying off into this massive detector. This underground particle smasher took thousands of people from over 100 different countries, $5 billion, and over 30 years to plan and build. My question was, why? Why do this? Why spend so much money and time to smash particles together in an underground tunnel? And now, why do so many people say that what we really need to do is build a bigger one?
Future circular collider, new particle accelerator,
building a bigger one
in Geneva, Switzerland, more than 3 times its size and twice as deep.
I'm going all the way to Switzerland, to the particle smasher itself, to understand what's really going on here, and to go on a journey that will forever change how I see myself and the world around me.
-1, please, yeah.
I'm in an elevator on my way down to the giant particle smasher, more scientifically known as the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC. It's inside the biggest and most famous physics lab in the world, CERN. I can't believe I'm here. Getting to visit here is a really big deal. Thousands of scientists from all around the world gather here to do cutting-edge research about how the universe works. Beyond that yellow door is one of the places where particles actually collide. Specifically, this one, the Atlas detector.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
This thing is huge. To give you a sense of scale, just look at it compared to a person.
Look how small they are. Those are people compared to this enormous machine. How did you put this in here?
So we can see from down here that there is a shaft above us. If people have the hobby to build a ship in a bottle, it's exactly the same way of constructing. You have to lower it in and then construct it in place.
I'm so amazed that people built this.
This giant underground detector is where those particles finally collide after being sped up close to the speed of light around that 27-kilometer track.
Where is the collision happening?
So the collision happens over here. So the detector is symmetrical around the collision point, and so we're at one end of it.
The detector is big, but the actual collider part is very small.
What you can see in the center is the Large Hadron Collider, so you can really see how tiny the beam pipe is.
Each pipe is about the size of your two hands, like this, or about the diameter of an orange, with thousands of magnets running along it that force the particles within that pipe into a space the width of a human hair.
I just accidentally pulled out one of my hairs in order to demonstrate this. Can you see this hair? Okay, can you see this hair compared to the scale that we're talking about right now?
That's the size of the space the particles are moving through. But even a human hair is enormous compared to the particles themselves. You already know that atoms and the particles inside of them are very small, but they are so much tinier than most people think. Look at a single strand of your hair. Now imagine that single hair is as big across as the entire Earth is wide. Now, zoom in. The size of a single cell inside of that hair would be like the distance from Paris to Rome. Now zoom in again. A protein inside that cell would be like 6 soccer fields across. An atom inside that protein would be like 1 school bus across. The nucleus at the center of that atom would be like the width of a grain of rice. And the protons within that nucleus, they'd be like grains of salt. So a proton compared to the width of your hair is like a grain of salt compared to the entire Earth. And that is what scientists are sending flying around inside of this machine. Protons, which are being squeezed by magnets into a space the width of a hair. It is incredible that we can do this. As humans, we experience only a tiny slice of the full scale of reality. But there's so much more. Wait, but hang on. If they're sending these tiny little protons down a tunnel 27 kilometers long, how did they get them to actually hit each other? Just think about shooting grains of salt at each other from really, really, really far away. Seriously, think about it. How would you do that? If you just thought fire tons of salt That's exactly what they do. They don't just fire 100 or 1,000 protons at each other. They fire 100 billion in bunches in each direction. And when they do that, 100 billion versus 100 billion, guess how many actually collide?
On average, we get about 50 or 60 collisions per crossing.
You heard that right. 60. 60 will actually collide, which is why they'll do the whole thing over and over and over again. 30 million times per second. There's approximately 3,000 bunches, each with over 100 billion protons, creating 1 billion collisions per second inside of this massive machine. Okay, so we have thousands of scientists spending billions of dollars to smash billions of protons in an underground tunnel. But why? Why do all of this in the first place? Well, if you look on the internet, you'll see that there are a lot of theories. From ending the world to creating black holes to it already ended the world and we're living inside a black hole to paranormal activity to new dimensions to hooded figures performing rituals to summon the devil. That last one was a prank, by the way. No, we are not doing any of that. The truth about what is happening here is both much harder to explain and much, much cooler. So strap in, because it's time to break your brain. When scientists smash these protons together, we get a glimpse at what might have happened close to the start of our universe, the Big Bang. That's because the collisions release an enormous amount of energy for how small protons are. But in the grand scheme of things, each collision is still less than the total energy of a hand clap. But a very smart person figured out that energy and mass are related. So when these protons collide at incredibly fast speeds, releasing a ton of energy, that energy can turn into physical mass, which is crazy. And here's the kicker. If the energy is high enough, it can turn into mysterious or unknown particles, more of the building blocks of our universe, which we really want to know about to use that knowledge to improve the world today, or to just satisfy our own curiosity. But those special mystery particles, they only exist for an instant, before they turn back into more everyday particles that we see all the time, that then fly outward towards sensors that record exactly where they hit. So what scientists actually see is more like a crime scene. They can see where the particles hit the sensors, but then they need to work backward using very complex physics to reverse engineer what happened at the moment of collision and what mystery particles could have been there. And if that sounds hard, yeah, you're right, but important.
We're not just doing this for fun, let's smash things together. We do like it, it's fun. But we do it because we have huge, huge questions. The idea with particle physics is to try to understand the fabric of the universe. So, you divide something, you divide it again, until you finally get to something you can't divide anymore. The elementary particles.
That's what they're studying in these collisions. Elementary particles, the building blocks of our universe. We know a lot of them already. You might recognize some, like electrons or photons, which give us light. We know about all of these elementary particles thanks to brilliant people doing extremely complex math and decades of experimentation to prove that math actually predicts the real world. That math looks like this. This is a beautiful description of how we as humans think the world around us works. It's called the Standard Model.
We can understand a lot about our universe, where we came from, where we're going, what we're made of. It's pure research to try to understand our universe.
One reason that they wanted to build the Large Hadron Collider specifically is that the Standard Model predicted that there should be another particle, a mystery particle, likely present near the beginning of our universe, that no one had ever actually detected. They called it the Higgs boson, or more sensationally, the God particle. The Standard Model seemed to suggest that this God particle was of vital importance to universal existence because, and here's where my brain starts to break a little bit, it would confirm the existence of an underlying field that gives other particles mass. In other words, this God particle would help us understand why everything you and I feel exists. Basically, why stuff exists was a big mystery, and this underlying field was our best mathematical explanation. And observing the Higgs boson, the particle related to this field, would help to prove it. The only problem was that to do that, we needed to get enough energy in one place to create it, like from smashing two protons together at nearly the speed of light. And that is one big reason to build the Large Hadron Collider. So, they built it. And after they finished, thousands of scientists spent 2 more years collecting data at 2 different detectors until finally they were sure enough to announce to the world they did it. They reliably created the Higgs boson, something that no one had ever detected before, proving a truth about our universe that had before been a mystery. And that proof looked like this. Yep, it's a bump on a chart. Think about about how much work went into seeing that bump on that chart. Like, that's it? Yeah, it's awesome. Through math, scientists predicted that if the Higgs boson exists, when we smash particles together, we should see a bump. And there it is.
There was literally a bump. There were more particles being produced at that energy.
The math was right. This confirmation didn't immediately change the world for people like you and me, but it showed us that as a species, we're on the right track. We're never gonna know the impact of discovering any single building block of reality. When Sir Isaac Newton revealed the motion of our moon and our planets, he couldn't have possibly imagined there would be humans on the moon nearly 300 years later. The same is true of our discoveries today. That's the point of all of this. We discover the building blocks now so that our children can build with them later, in ways that we can't possibly imagine.
I don't know what understanding the Higgs boson is really going to do to change the way that we live, but in 20, 30, 50 years, the better that we understand how these particles work, the more we can create technologies that change our lives.
And the Higgs boson was by no means the only thing the Large Hadron Collider has uncovered. It has shaped our understanding of the way that elementary particles interact and combine, and put our theories about the world to the test, over and over and over again. But now, some scientists argue that we might have reached a limit on what we can learn from this collider. And there's still so much that we don't know about the universe. So, some scientists argue that now what we need to do is build a much, much bigger one. That's the big debate happening right now.
There's things we're looking for. The big holes in our understanding of the universe. We have measured really clearly that there's something out there that only acts through gravitation as far as we can tell.
He's talking about dark matter.
Invisible matter would have been a better name. Doesn't matter. It doesn't, send anything out that we can see with our eyes, but it affects gravitationally and it makes a big difference.
We know this dark matter is there because it impacts things that we can see, like the way light visibly bends as it passes galaxies. Through those effects, we can calculate dark matter accounts for 27% of our universe. Could a bigger collider help us learn about it? We don't really know.
Nobody is guaranteeing it will find dark matter. It might answer something completely different. It might pose new questions. Maybe we'll find something we had no idea was there, and we need to start working on it now.
Does it have a name? What?
It has a horrible name. It's called the FCC, the Future Circular Collider, which of course you have to change after you've built it.
CERN estimates that building this new collider would cost roughly $17 billion, and instead of a 27-kilometer loop, it would be 100. But not everyone thinks that this is worth it. They argue that the Large Hadron Collider has fallen short of what some hoped that it would achieve.
Let me tell you one interesting thing. One thing really blew me off. Like the Huge Hadron Collider, a new particle, God particle. I was thinking, I've heard that somewhere. So I did my research. I saw that somewhere. It was on Netflix. But then I realized it was a recent TV show on Netflix, which had all of the same aspects, the same setup, and that show is called Three-Body Problem. It's about scientists discovering a new particle called the God particle.
This is the one. He hops by, and as he hops by, the breeze makes the flag blow.
Because he's in an air environment. He's not on the moon.
Right. That is a weird one. Do it again. Look at this. As he hops by, he doesn't touch the flag. Meteorites will mess you up.
Well, actually, Von Braun, we found publications of his. It says every 24 hours on the moon, there's a 50% chance of a catastrophic, deadly error because of decompression from a micrometeorite. So they were there 3 days. They were 150% chance they would have been killed from a micrometeorite. Grain of sand traveling through space at 25,000 miles an hour. And he said you would have to immediately go into a cave once you landed. They never did that. He also said in writing, in order to go to the moon in one rocket, he says that cannot happen. You need 3 rockets, each weighing each being 10 times the tonnage of the Queen Mary, or some 800,000 tons each, in order to go to the moon. And the Saturn V was 2,500 tons, not 800,000 tons. We have that in writing.
That was from his book, right? And what year was that?
I think that came out in 1959, and now Elon Musk wants to, quote, return to the moon, and he says to return to the moon, we need to make 9 fuel trips first to ferry the fuel necessary to be able to go to the moon from there. That's exactly what von Braun said. You have to make multiple fuel trips to go to the moon first to a space station, and then from there you can go. Elon Musk said the same thing. But how did they do it with a rocket that contained 1/30,000% of the amount of fuel von Braun said?
Module leaving the moon. When it leaves, when the camera pans, and it looks. Let's film. Let's show it. Let's show what year was that? Which
I think that was one of the last missions. And I think you're talking about where the camera perfectly tilts up, with the little model going up.
Yes.
And of course, with the delay, how could you synchronize that? Of course, you couldn't.
Well, you could, because it's 4 seconds, right? Just like it's radio waves. So this is it. So this is launching off the. Watch this.
And it's perfectly tilting up with it in real time.
It's just
with the remote control from NASA with the radio delay that I suspect would be more like 12 seconds.
But also,
because today, if you say to someone in Atlanta talking to someone in Iraq, hey, how's it going? 1, 2, 3. Hey, I'm doing fine. That's just on halfway around the world.
You can put the panning is interesting, but you could put a timer on it. The thing looking so goofy is so crazy. Like that thing is supposed to get off 1/6 Earth's gravity and fly like that. How? What's it doing? It looks so fucking fake.
I mean, to be totally honest with you, this is the most compelling video I've seen of the moon landing scenario and all of those conspiracies surrounding it. There's solid evidence, there's a reference to the book, and it's pretty convincing. Unlike all of those other conspiracies that there is no air, the flag isn't waving, all of that crap. But this one, it's super convincing. And if you are still not convinced enough, then you can never be convinced. And to you, it's all real. The moon landing happened. But this, it's pretty convincing that it was all a setup and it was all fake.
They did a whole breakdown on how Simpsons was able to predict so many events that ended up coming true. And one of them, they wrote this math theory on the whiteboard that it turned out decades later to be correct. Right. And it was like this unsolved math theorem they just wrote on the whiteboard in the background of a Simpsons episode. And people were wondering, how did they get this right? Well, it turned out that the writers went to such great lengths that they hired people who were in academics to put these little Easter eggs in the episode that no one would notice unless you know it. And it really came down to the writers who are so attuned to current events that when they make these predictions, there's some level of reality that they could potentially happen.
Can I blow your mind right now? Okay. If the center of the Earth is hot, why is the bottom of the ocean cold? Right? Let that sink in. So you're closer to the source of the Earth's heat, but the water is colder. It doesn't make sense. So Chris and I were talking about this because we were flying to see our sister last summer, and we're going over the ocean. And I said, make it make sense, Chris. Scientists expect us to believe that the center of the Earth is 100% pure lava, which is liquid fire. You can look this up. So shouldn't the bottom of the ocean be boiling water? Well, it's not. It's cold water. So there's only one explanation for this. There's only one explanation. And that is that the center of the Earth is actually frozen. And if this is a hard thing to believe, you just have to look to the evidence. And who gives us the evidence? The same scientists that try to tell us that the center of the Earth is hot. Okay, so if you really want to go down this rabbit hole with me, ask yourself why 50% of scientists say that the dinosaurs were killed by the Ice Age, and the other 50% say it was because of volcanic eruptions. Well, if the center of the Earth is frozen, what comes out of a volcano? I think you know where I'm going with this.
Wait. Now before you lose your mind, he's just kidding.
Machine Gun Kelly and Triple Red talk conspiracy theories, and this just gave me a weird vibe. Because when they start to talk about the Illuminati, I can't help.
No wonder humans fight with each other all the time. They have so many.
Machine Gun Kelly and Triple Red talk conspiracy theories, and this just gave me a weird vibe. Because when they start to talk about the Illuminati, I can't help to notice the upside down cross on MGK's ear. And I don't even have to explain Trippy Red, but just watch this.
GOAT conspiracy theory.
Project Blue Beam.
Weird. This fool knew the names.
Project Blue Beam is like mass manipulation of like a whole country or the whole world. Like they can put anything in the sky. They can mass manipulate us to think aliens are here or angels came back and resurrected or anything like that.
I like that they put diseases in mosquitoes and release them. I don't like that, but I like that conspiracy theory. I like the simple shit too, like chemtrails, just because I'm reminded of it every day. I look up and I'm like, that's weird. And I like the ones about like us, that we're all Illuminati. It's gotta be the dumbest thing ever.
Well, I don't
just
know.
wake up every day trying to figure out. You don't know about me?
I know, Machine Gun Kelly having upside down cross on his hair. That's fine, that's normal, that's not weird at all. And the Triple Red having that eye. Oh, sorry, I mean Trippy Red having that eye symbol on his locket. That's normal. That's normal as well. That all of the weird symbols, that's normal to them. I mean, not a big deal. But them being an Illuminati? No. That's absurd.
Hey! No wonder humans fight with each other all the time. They have so many options. If you can't make a decision on cereal, how are you going to make a decision to get along?
Raisin brain.
I wonder what types of brain they put in their raisin brain. What's in Reese's Poofs?
Ew! Oh!
Did they do that on purpose?
They must have. Every ingredient in every cereal was poison.
Look what's in these.
No Cocoa Poofs.
No Cocoa Poofs. Did you see what was in that one cereal?
I saw what was in it.
It had butylated hydroxytoluene.
What is that?
I don't even know what that is.
Gleeble! We know her.
These fool humans, they're so confused. They have so many options in their daily lives. No way they can dominate us. I mean, we are aliens, we are simple people. We have just one flying sausage and that's it. We fly anywhere we want.
My friend who works at CERN called me tonight and was absolutely in a panic. And now that I've heard what he said, I'm in a panic. And I don't like feeling this way. Okay, this is footage of from his house of the ring system. Okay. He's concerned because they basically are trying, as people have said, to bring through an interdimensional being in a manifestation that is 3D, so flesh and blood on this plane. In order to do so, they must direct a massive amount of both quantum entangled energy, which is more like louche or sort of metaphysical energy, and also real energy. But to do so, they must vector it to a specific area where they want the manifestation to occur. They don't want to do it on Earth because, out of an abundance of caution for what, who knows what will happen. So they're directing it towards the moon. When he's been looking at the moon through his ring here, he's noticed the moon has flared in terms of magnitude. It's way too bright. It should never be this bright, ever, ever, ever. Also, his ring system is zooming in and out through the night. It's never done that before, ever, okay? Moreover, they all at CERN were told when this was happening to think of the moon constantly. They wanted everyone to think about it. The other night they did an experiment with a combination of quantum entanglement, theoretical quantum entanglement, and also like vector-induced energy weapons. They need an object apparently to manifest, or they call it embody, for them to embody a quantum entangled sequence of particles theoretically predict will form mass intelligently enough to render it into a being of some sort, a flesh and blood, well, not necessarily blood, but a flesh being, a three-dimensional, or something that might be extra-dimensional or interdimensional. The point is simply this: they need an object. They don't want to use anything on Earth, so they are using the moon, and they are pointing it at there. They actually have an interface for the point where the quantum entanglement occurs in CERN. They have a way to connect it on a vector to the moon in terms of a quantum entangled direction for 3D manifestation. But the point is this: do you know why the being says in their communications with each other why it's coming here? Because it wants gold. It wants to bring gold somehow to its dimension. How, I have no idea. He didn't explain that part. But this is where it gets weird. When they did this at 2:44 a.m., okay, which, you know, in Switzerland time, it was the equivalent. And when they did this, okay, the moon disappeared. All that, I didn't even get into it. Preceding all that, if you noticed how bright it was, the moon was crazy bright. That was I'm sorry, I can't even do this voiceover because I'm thinking, so I'm crazy about this, okay? He says that they're going to bring this thing through in 17 days. 17 days from now, today's the 22nd. So literally in 17 days, they say it's going to be benign.
The truth about Atlantis is no longer a mystery, and scientists have finally found the answers to all of your questions. The remains of Atlantis are located in the eye of the Sahara Desert. Now stay with me. Now, recently, satellite images have been able to expose a series of peculiar structures underneath the sand. This may hold the key to Atlantis's location. Now, the eye of the Sahara Desert is about 50 kilometers, and it's believed that it was shaped by a volcanic eruption millions of years ago. And many experts actually believe that that structure could be what remains of Atlantis. Greek philosopher Plato had described Atlantis, and this location actually corresponds with the description. He said that Atlantis was a circular city encompassed with rings of water and land. And clearly, that corresponds. And recently they started digging here, and they actually found some insane artifacts that led people to believe that this is where Atlantis was. Unfortunately, I can't show them to you because this is not true. This was a story generated by AI.
At least she was honest about it. Because most of these TikToker conspiracy theorists, they're like, oh, we found a mysterious well, we found a mysterious building, but they can't reveal it. And it's all of those pictures with the AI generation.